Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Wind Waker Unflooded, a 3D modeling fan art project where I am reimagining the kingdom of Hyrule within the world and art style of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Of course, if you played Wind Waker, you know that the islands of the Great Sea are actually the mountaintops of Hyrule, but we never get to fully explore Hyrule. We just see a small portion of it near Hyrule Castle. So this project is all about bringing that world to life that we never really got to see. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. I always forget that I can teleport in this mode, so how about this? Let's do some teleporting and go over here to Windfall Island. Excuse me. I'm like, we don't have to like take all day to get somewhere. We can just teleport there. So let's start with the graveyard just because it's dramatic. This is the Kakariko graveyard. Yeah, Windfall Island's Kakariko village. Let's go. So of course, if y'all played Ocarina of Time, then you know that if you go behind the graveyard, then that takes you to the entrance to the Shadow Temple. So that all that is already conceptually in the project. I just got to keep working on the terrain and meshing it all together. But yeah, I mean, there's Windfall Island. I'm so excited to keep working on it. Windfall Island, is that my favorite island in the Wind Waker? Yeah, I think so. I think that's an easy answer, actually. I'm just like debating. Because I mean, there's so many islands that like I care about because of the story, but Windfall Island has the most to do. And so there's just so much of the game that I love that happens there. Even though like I love the Wind Waker's dungeons, just doing so many of its side quests that happen on Windfall Island, those are super meaningful to me. And just it's a place that is super meaningful. And so combining it with Kakariko, which I think it's a clear allusion to making the decision that those are part of the same location and expanding them together. I'm really excited just to keep working on that area, just because that is a very meaningful location. So here we go. Welcome to Paw Print Isle. Why did my cursor suddenly appear? It wasn't there before, but it's here now. What does this mean? But anyway, so this is Paw Print Isle. Excuse me, I teleported too far. I don't know my own strength. Here we go. So, excuse me. So next to Paw Print Isle is the Bridge of Eldin, which, I don't know, I thought would be cool to connect with some of those ancient cultures as well and put it, in the style of the Tower of the Gods, that architecture. I don't know, this may be controversial. This may be a controversial decision, but I like the look of it. If you want to try to change my mind, my ears are always open. I'm always, listening. I do listen. I take feedback. Oh, so I'll go ahead and say, like, if you have any feedback, as I've been showing off this project, if you have, if you have any ideas, criticisms, concerns, positive, negative feedback, things you like, feel free to say what you like, but also tell me what you don't like, just because I want to be able to make your changes, take your feedback, and listen to it. I value this being a community-driven project. I value like being able to put your ideas in the project and be able to share some satisfaction of like saying that like, yeah, like this is Hyrule in the style of the Wind Waker in a way that we all can be happy with, right? I want us all to, be happy with these takes, with these design decisions. So here's Goron City. That's the idea, kind of working on, I want to add some buildings here, some shops, etc. But this is kind of the basic terrain for it with Goron statues like we saw in Breath of the Wild. So this is the Death Mountain Trail. I mean, yeah, like I'm saying that Death Mountain is Dragon Roost Island. It just makes sense to me. Sorry. Let's take a view from the top. So let's go up here. So yeah, these textures, I wonder if they're just mapped to the wrong texture. I don't know. I got to figure out what's going on with these like railings. So this is not just a world tour. This is let me check things out and kind of make note of what I want to do. Oh, that would be a good lookout. Let's go here. I mean, y'all remember from playing Wind Waker that this lookout was where you met Medley right before the Earth Temple, where you met her to go escort her to the Earth Temple, where she realized what her destiny was. So this is like a very important scene in the original game. And here we can also look out and see all of Hyrule below. So, oh man, what an incredible view. This is so high up. And already it's like there's so much missing in the world, but there's also a lot here that really it gives you a sense of scale of what it'll be like to look down at this whole world beneath you. So without further ado, let's finish up the tour by going to Central Hyrule. So below Death Mountain, kind of in this still arid mountain region, is the desert where Ganon's Tower is seen. I've made the decision to say that that's not the Gerudo Desert. If you want to hear more but just about that creative decision, I talked to this whole map, this two-dimensional map that I've been basing the world off that you see underneath the 3D model, that was created by the Lorulean historian. And I did a podcast interview with the creator of that map on this channel. So, feel free to listen to the podcast Unflooded if you want to hear some more about some of the creative decisions that went into this map that I've based this project off of. So already you can see that like there are decisions made in that map, like making Dragon Roost, Death Mountain, etc. And I've kept in line with a lot of the decisions made in that map, and I kind of default to it. And I think it's a good map. That's not like a decision made so that I don't have to be creative, so that I don't have to think. I'm being creative on top of that, and I'm changing things, from that map sometimes here and there as well. But also it's like, I think that map does a good job with its placement of things. And so like I'm adhering to it because I think it's well made, well designed. So that's my take. Let's see, what are we approaching here? Oh yeah, so this is the Eastern Palace as it appeared in A Link to the Past. I thought it made sense geographically that it would be, it was kind of in this kind of deserty, arid mountain region in A Link to the Past. And I was like, well, where does that exist in any other game? It's hard to find a place like that unless you look at the Wind Waker and you say that Ganon's Tower is separate from the Gerudo Desert. So here is the Eastern Palace as it appeared in A Link to the Past. Let's take just a closer look at this model because I want to show off the statues. I just want to show off the statues, man. Because I tried to replicate the statues that you saw in A Link to the Past. For instance, this kind of owl statue here, that's based on the original sprite work. Oh, I got to redo those textures. I'm trying to show off something, and the textures are all messed up. That's just how it goes. That's how it goes with a project this big. You can't get it all right. But you can see the shape of these statues is based on the sprite work from A Link to the Past of those monster statues. So anyway, that's the Eastern Palace. Behold, really excited to keep working on that as well, and kind of maybe expand it into its own kind of ancient city. So let's I'm going to end the view actually on Ganon's Tower because I feel like that's a fitting end to the video. So here, let's take a look at this farmhouse here. The idea of this is that this is the house of a wealthy person, on this kind of very observable patch of land, right? And so there would be a garden here. It's really convenient with the railway, and it's overlooking Hyrule Castle Town, which is kind of the main star attraction of the map so far. It's right in the middle of the map, and so with that just comes, this extra attention as you look at the model and go, oh, wait, like Hyrule Castle is bigger than it was in the game. So let's take a look at that. So from this farmhouse mountain, we can look out and see, we see Lookout Landing in the distance over there. Excuse me, it's not actually Lookout Landing, but it is a fort inspired by Lookout Landing. We see this Colosseum, we see the city in the sky. A great view from the top of this farmhouse. We see this is supposed to be a school in the distance, if I haven't explained that building. This is maybe I'll give you all a quick, y'all saw that in the world tour, that I'm remaking Hateno Village with the private oasis on top of the mountain. So I don't know. I don't need to re-explain everything, do I? Anyway, before we keep watching this world tour, I think it's time for a short message. So I will talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there are several ways that you can make possible the creation of everything that I do. Become a Patreon member. I post all kinds of exclusive content that you can only see first on Patreon. Stuff like behind-the-scenes content for my filmmaking projects, whether that's in-progress scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, anything for my newest films that aren't posted anywhere else besides Patreon. So become a member. There's a whole range of prices, and you can support me even in small ways. That's super meaningful. Supporting me on Patreon too gets you in the credits list of any film that I release while you're a member. And like I said, even a little goes a long way. You can also collaborate with me now through Fiverr. I offer a range of services that could help bring your project to life. And if you've heard any music in the background of this video, that was my music. So feel free to look me up on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. Type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify. Supporting me is super meaningful. I don't make any ad revenue on Wind Waker Unflooded. If you see an ad on the video, it's because YouTube is putting ads on my videos. I'm not making any ad revenue from this project. It's completely not monetized for me. So if you want to be able to support me as a creator, any way that you can do that means a lot, and it goes towards the creation of all that I do. So thank you to everyone who's supported me along the way.
So here's the Temple of Time, modeled by CallumsArmy. We should take a look inside the Temple of Time. Maybe let's go ahead and do that. So without further ado, welcome to the Temple. I gotta refix that. I gotta fix that texture. These things happen. Well, oh man, yeah. I mean, this is the Temple of Time in the style of the Wind Waker. I think Callum did a great job. I mean, look at the carpet. I don't even know where he got all the textures from. I mean, some of these are obviously from like the Hyrule Castle town or Hyrule Castle basement that you see in Wind Waker. Here's the pearls of the goddess. A lot of these are custom textures too. But let's go in the chamber of the Master Sword. And oh man, it's beautiful in all of its rendered glory now. We see the sage portraits. I thought that was a really nice touch. And here's the Master Sword on its pedestal. So just all in the style of the Wind Waker. This really important location from Ocarina of Time. I think just he did a great job. And I love that the games have different art styles and yet connect so well. That's just something I really love about the Zelda series, is that it's all interconnected. But I mean, it can look different. So here's this. I gotta fix the texture here too. Something about this wood texture is just mapped wrong. So I gotta fix that. But this is a theater styled kind of like Shakespeare's The Globe Theater. That's the idea. So this just kind of speaks to the culture of Castletown, that you could come here to watch a play. And I love that it's added to this area that was once so barren in the actual game. You went along this path and there was nothing to see, but now there's the theater. Now there's the Temple of Time over there. And these are things that, I'm implying were just destroyed in the war leading up to the events of the Wind Waker, leading up to the Great Flood. If I haven't said before, timeline-wise, I'm building the world of Hyrule as it would exist right before the Great Flood. So here's Hyrule Castletown. I mean, there's a lot left to do, but we have this trolley next to these apartment buildings that are modeled after the Hyrule Castle style. I mean, there's so many things left. There's so many empty city blocks right now. We have this in-progress marketplace modeled after like Leadenhall Market, if y'all know that from London. So like it's like there's this kind of city street with these shops with this kind of covered glass. Would you call it a glass awning? Is that the way to put it? This kind of glass ceiling overlooking the market. We have this kind of Roman bath style architecture based on the Windfall Island stone architecture movement, where you would sit here kind of, it's just a local swimming pool for your local philosophers. More apartments, working on these kind of botanical garden style area for the castle town. Really excited to keep working on that. There's one of these kind of lantern shrines, this bridge next to the waterfalls. I think that's gonna be really pretty, overlooking the castle. Let's take a tour by the Opera House too, just to give y'all a look. Just because it's been so long since I did that video that if y'all didn't see the Opera House, it could be a good time to show it off for those that haven't seen it. So let's go ahead and go get a balcony seat. And boom, fully modeled interior. I don't always do that, but boom, Opera House. Obviously based on the models and textures from Windfall Island's auction house, but expanded. Now there's all these seats. There's a whole stage overlooking all these box seatings, the box seating as well, giant chandelier. Obviously, like sort of modeled on the Palais Garnier in Paris, the Paris Opera House, famous for inspiring the Phantom of the Opera story. If y'all know that one, that's a beautiful building too. And I just adore its architecture. So I was trying to model something kind of loosely based off of that. But anyway, that's the Hyrule Castletown Opera House. There's Hyrule Castle. I mean, y'all know Hyrule Castle. Y'all have played Wind Waker, right? I didn't point this out on the World Tour, but what do you know? I wonder what that is. I wonder what's buried right next to the Hyrule Castle. I wonder what this little shrine here is poking out of the lake here. I wonder if the Tower of the Gods is down there. It hasn't risen up yet out of the world yet, so it's partially buried. I mean, the idea is that it's buried even in Hyrule. So when it rises up during the events of the Wind Waker, it's rising up from below even Hyrule. Um, that's the idea lore-wise. So let's take a look over. Is there anything else to show off on this side of the map? Yeah, let's go over to the museum. That could be a good next step. So this is the Hyrule Castle Town Museum. It's an outdoor museum right now, but full of all kinds of statues and props and tapestries. And a lot of these are by artists unique to this project. So a lot of this, check the description if you see textures and art credits. Those are all the artists that worked on this area for the tapestries. So we have some 3D models of what is this? The Goddess Sword from Skyward Sword, I think, or the Picori Sword. I can't tell, actually. I think that's the Goddess Sword, though, right? Or no, excuse me, that's the Bigoron Sword. I just couldn't get a good look at it. That's the Bigoron Sword, the Hylian Shield. Over here is the Picori Blade. Excuse me, I got that wrong. In the middle of the museum, we have this Four Sword statue. So, like, just judging from where Wind Waker is on the timeline, a lot of these tapestries are just reflecting on earlier games. So, like, timeline-wise, they're not referring to games that... Even if I pull areas from the map that exist in later games, timeline-wise, I'm not pulling from anything. So, we have this custom art of the creation myth in the style of the Wind Waker tapestry, where the 3 golden goddesses created the world and then left the Triforce. I love that. I love this Skyward Sword tapestry. Oh, man, it's really dramatic with... I love this version of Skyloft, the loft wing, Zelda falling down into the mouth of the imprisoned. I love the way that looks. Oh, man, gives me chills looking at it. This is the Minish Cap, I think. So fighting Vati, pulling the Four Sword. This is a map of the world that is still pretty close, but I've made some changes since this map was made, but this is based on the Wind Waker Unflooded map, just in a more stylized way. It's supposed to be like a ink-made, ink-written, ink-drawn map. I don't know why I'm tripping. And here are the events of Ocarina of Time, which of course happened before Wind Waker as well. So you see Link's mother delivering him to the Great Deku Tree, the events of the Hero of Time, getting the pearls, getting the fairy, and uniting, of course, the adult timeline happened as well before Wind Waker. We're in the adult timeline, so Link, as an adult, united the sages and defeated Ganon, which we also see... Excuse me, this is another take on the Hero of Time's conquest in the, as a young hero defeating Goma in the Deku Tree. I love that has been reinterpreted. And then moving on from that, we have the prelude to the Wind Waker, which I thought is nice just to have that there as well. The rise of the Hero of Time, slaying Beast Ganon at the end of Ocarina of Time. This is a direct reference to that final battle in Ocarina of Time, where flames are surrounding you and Beast Ganon, and you drive that sword through its skull. But yeah, I mean, those are all the tapestries of the museum. I love just everything there. How about this? I'll jump by this. I mean, y'all have seen Hyrule Castle. Y'all know what that looks like. Let me jump by the school. We're starting to wrap up the tour. So this is the courtyard of the school. And then go through here. Excuse me, I'm just kind of phasing through geometry. But this is the Great Hall. I think this will be a cool location to kind of keep working on. But just kind of helps communicate the culture of the world. Here's this crest. This is a custom crest that's a contributor made for the project. Let's go ahead and just show you the top of this mountain. Just for those that haven't seen it. Just so you can get a good look at everything. So, where is Hiteno Village? Where is it? It's over here. Excuse me. So I've been remaking Hiteno Village in the style of the Wind Waker. Now, of course, like Breath of the Wild takes place many years later, and so this would not be the same settlement, but it is a settlement inspired by it. Or you could say the Hiteno Village later is inspired by this settlement. Whatever you want to say, it doesn't have to be the same settlement, but it's in the same place geographically with similar architecture, leading up to the private oasis. I don't know. I thought that was just a fun way of like kind of figuring out like the private oasis's mountain and what else would be on in that location. So anyway, those are all kind of the main. I mean, I haven't showed you every single thing in this project, but I feel like those are a lot of the main highlights. Like we didn't really check out like Ice Ring Isle or the Earth Temple or Kakiri Forest, and a lot of those locations are still in progress, so there's not a whole lot to show. Or maybe how about this? Just I'll show y'all Kakiri Forest. There's not much to show, but just because you're gonna be asking me if you don't get to see it, so I might as well show you what I have, right? Even though there's not a whole lot there yet. But I've been just working on connecting the Forest Haven to Kakiri Forest, modeled in the style of the Wind Waker. And so we have just some of these like tree houses, not a house in a tree, but a tree turned into a house. So I got to just keep working on that. But that's Kakiri Forest connecting to the Forest Haven. So a lot to keep working on, just this area. But I'm excited to keep fleshing out the forest and keep adding to it. So let's check out the view from the top of Ganon's Tower, and I think that will end up the video. So here we go. Now here we are. And I mean, oh man, this takes me back to the end of the game. Standing at the edge, overlooking the mountains, seeing this desert below you. And if the game had fully rendered everything, you probably could have seen Hyrule Castle in the distance too. Because in the game, it's kind of weird that you can see you can see Ganon's Tower from Hyrule Castle in the distance. But in the final battle, you can't see Hyrule Castle from Ganon's Tower. So it's just a creative decision, and I think it's a fine decision, but just geographically, if it was consistent, you'd be able to see it all. But I mean, yeah, this is this version of looking out at Hyrule from the top of Ganon's Tower, and you can imagine Ganondorf's great speech. I mean, just some of the best writing in Zelda is that final monologue in the Wind Waker. I could recite it for you here. I'm sure that a lot of you can as well if y'all are Wind Waker fans. My country lay within a vast desert. I mean, just the whole thing, man. Oh, it's so dramatic. But yeah, I mean, this is Hyrule. Do y'all want to get just like an aerial view of the world? Just like a classic way of just ending these videos. So I'll give you a view from the top of the world just to satisfy y'all, just so you can see all the progress at once. So without further ado, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I haven't actually been keeping track of time, so I hope it's not too long for y'all. But I just wanted to give you just an in-depth look at the world, and just so y'all could really get a feel for the scale of it and the progress that's been made. If you look at it on a map like this, I mean, you can see all the spots that are missing, and it feels like I haven't almost done anything. But really, there's been so much work done, and I've been so excited just to share this project with y'all, and I've been so excited to see how much y'all care about it, and just all of your comments and concerns. I sharing it with me. But without further ado, I'll let you go.